What's good, y'all? It's Wraithe here, and I actually wanted to chat a bit about a new game that I got to play that is still in early access. It's actually called Dungeonborne, and I actually didn't know about it until probably a week ago. My homie Ryan put me onto it and essentially said, like, hey, I feel like this is your game. You got to try it out. He knows I love Souls like games, and he knows I like stuff with kind of like the medieval vibe, I guess is what you can kind of say this is. But it is really fun. I like it. And I guess the best way that I can describe it is it's almost like a survival Monster Hunter Souls like type of game, which when you put all those together, it sounds kind of crazy, but it's actually really cool. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about it. As you can see, I got some gameplay here for you guys to view as well. And I'm just going to talk about some pros and cons and just kind of get into it a little bit. So let's not waste any time here. I'm not going to keep yapping. Let's go ahead and talk about it. So, Dungeonborne, it's essentially, I mean, one thing I would say is some of the pros about it is the gameplay and the idea in itself is pretty fun. I haven't really played a game that's similar to it, and I really do enjoy it. I think it's more fun to play with friends than it is by yourself for sure. It can create a lot of like funny moments with your friends group. The way that it essentially works is you have your character that you create, and it is a typical dungeon crawler, but where the survival and Monster Hunter aspect kind of comes into it is you kind of get dropped into this big world where you have a big map and there's other players, about 15 players that get dropped into the world as well. And the whole goal of the game is to essentially go through, try to get as much loot as you can and get out of there for the most part. So that's where it kind of is a little bit of that survival aspect, but also that Monster Hunter aspect comes from the different bosses and things like that that you might encounter that are going to drop some of that better loot in the world that you're going to be dropping in. So, and you can drop in at different levels. They have a like easy level, obviously the 1 star. I'll put it up on screen here. Then they also have the 2nd star, the 2 star as well, and you can see the different combat levels. Now, one thing I'll start off with saying is this shit is hard. Off rip, this game is difficult, and not in like a fun way, not in like a Elden Ring type of way where it's like difficult, but you feel like you can eventually get to the point where you'll figure it out, where you're just figuring out boss patterns. It's more like a simulated difficulty. Even on level 1, I was getting fucking stomped, bro, but like by everything, by every single creature, even the little roaches on the ground were whooping my ass. So it felt like a little bit of simulated difficulty, just because they hit way too hard. Now, another aspect of it that makes it a little bit more survival like is the aspect of once you delve into this world and any loot that you receive in that world, if you die while you're in that world, you can't be revived unless your friends get a revival stone or a resurrection stone, is what they call it, to bring you back. Now, if you die, you lose all that loot. All that hard work that you put in, poof, it's done. So don't die. Definitely don't die, or find some recovery stones or whatever they're called. You want to find those stones. Now, in the unlikely event that you are about to die and you don't want to lose any of that loot that you've already worked hard to get, they do have something else added in the game, which would be called the it's like the portals. So they're portals that'll send you back to the campsite. They're basically the initial loading screen for the game, where you can then leave that world that you get dropped in and keep all that loot that you got with you. Now, getting into some of the pros of the game, it's primarily going to come from the 3v3 PvP mode, because I personally think that was my favorite part of the game. Now, don't get me wrong, it was fun diving into that world and playing with friends, but it sucks when one of your friends dies and then now it's only you two, and then they have to watch and spectate you for the rest of the time that you're alive. I think that kind of sucks, and that's where I say that some of that difficulty could be turned down a little bit. It's a little just too tough. It makes it not fun, especially when you have a group of homies that you're playing with. So, I mean, the one pro is definitely the gameplay. I think it's fun in the 3v3 mode because you have the aspect of basically the respawn that you get. So you can definitely respawn, keep playing. And I think it's fun to just mess around with the different classes and the different abilities. Another pro would have to be the classes. As I stated previously, the classes are really fun to create. There's a lot of different variations when it comes to customization and stuff like that. I have to say, I'm glad I didn't see a fucking Killmonger cut for the black people in this game. But that Also might lead into the cons. I'll get into that later, but I think overall, as far as customization goes, I'm a sucker for customization. You know, if you have good customization in a game, I'm gonna love it. I want to feel fully immersed, and I think they delivered on that part with the customization. Now, another pro I would have to say is the magic. I think magic is overpowered in this game. Magic tends to be overpowered in most fantasy type games, but I love magic too. I didn't run a magic. I did not run a Mickey build in Elden Ring. All right, so I don't want to hear it in the comments. I ran straight hands. I went guts build. All right, but I have to say magic in this game is kind of the meta. If you're not running magic in this game, you're doing yourself a disservice. You run slow, so magic is definitely OP. And they delivered on that. That's a pro. Now, unfortunately, those are all the pros that I have. So we're going to start getting into some of these cons. And I do have a pretty big list here of all the cons. And now some of these can be forgiven because they are in early access. And I get it. You're in early access. The game's not fully polished yet. So I'll give them a pass. I'm going to give them a rating of the game so far at the end of this video, just so, you know, y'all can get a vibe of what I think it is and if I would recommend it to y'all to play. But yeah, let's go ahead and get into it. So cons wise, it is not very easy to play with friends. Like I stated, if your friend dies, it's only 2 of you left. They have to watch you and spectate you. If you want to back out, you can back out, but you have to wait for a portal to pop up, and you don't know where that portal is going to come from. So that other friend that died is just sitting there, sitting on their ass, sitting on their hands, just waiting for a portal to pop up if you choose to leave in the portal, because you don't have to. So that's where I say that it is pretty lame if you're not playing with friends. It's definitely a game that's meant for friends first. And I think that's a con when you're creating a game, is you want to create a game with the aspect of, hey, what if this person is going to be playing solo and not with friends, right? You still want them to have fun. And I think they kind of pigeonholed this game a little bit with the fact that you have to be playing with friends for it to really be fun. So that's one of the cons there. Another thing that I did not like is, yeah, like I said, it's not easy to play with friends in that regard. So it's also not easy to play with friends because there were just little small glitches where if you added a friend from your Steam's list and if you added a new friend onto your Steam list, you have to exit out of the game and then re-enter in order to add them to your team. I think that's kind of lame. I shouldn't have to exit out of the game and then reload it back up just to be able to access a refreshed version of my Steam friends list. I thought that was kind of lame. I'll give him a pass on that. That's not going to ding off too many points just because it is in early access. Okay. And lastly, the movement is probably the biggest con in this game. Why do all the enemies run and move so damn fast? And my character is moving like you're in a dream. Like, you know how when you're asleep and you're trying to run and it feels like you're running in place, you feel like a fucking Scooby-Doo character? That's how I feel in this game. They need to do something with the movement to where they either add a run button or just increase the movement or something, because this game feels way too slow. Now, I'm going to show a clip of this werewolf that was trying to fight me, and I'm not going to lie, I kind of bitched out. I put him, you know, I kind of aggroed him onto my homies so he wouldn't whoop my ass. But the movement in this game is abysmal. I definitely don't like it. They need to change it. It's too damn slow. Or there needs to be a perk or maybe a skill or something like that that increases that movement. And that's on my side. I just definitely didn't like the movement in the game. That was definitely a L. So all in all, based off of what I got to play, I would have to give this game, and it sucks, I hate to be this critical, but honestly, I gotta give this a solid 5. Maybe a 6. Nah, honestly, I think a 6 is too high. 5. A 5, honestly. The optimization brings it down a lot of points just because I felt like I didn't want to play this on my PC for too long. I felt like it was going to make my PC just run way too hard, way too hot. And when I went and looked at my task manager, I saw that the CPU, the power usage, was at very high. So that's a glaring problem to me. The gameplay can be fun. The idea is very different, very unique. So they have something here. They are cooking a little bit with it, but I think it just needs a little bit more time in the oven. And again, it is an early access. So all this stuff can change, but that's my final verdict on it. I would say it's a 5 out of 10. Would I recommend this? I would recommend this to only play with your friends. If you're playing this by yourself, shit is not going to be fun. I have no desire to play this by myself. So all in all, let me know what y'all thought about this game in the comments. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that noti bell as well, because I'm going to be coming to y'all with some more gaming content. I actually do have some content coming soon for that new Mecha Break playtest, which I think is going to be a far better game than this based on some of the gameplay that I've seen. But if you guys have any, opinions or recommendations of any games that y'all want to see me review, or any games that you'd like to see me play, please let me know. And yeah, please give me that follow. And if you'd like to see some of my streams as well and see me play some of these games, feel free to go follow my Twitch in the description. Wraithe TTG 2 Turn Gaming. We gonna make this happen, y'all. Stay blessed.